After about a 4-hour flight from Singapore, we arrived at Tribhuvan International Airport. The air quality in Kathmandu was pretty poor the next day. Despite that, we had to make our way to Thamel to visit the travel agency's office. This is for a pre-trek check-in and to complete all the paperwork. Getting to Lukla by helicopter increased our odds of starting the trek on time. This meant we skipped the 4 to 5 hour road transfer to Ramachep for the flight. Unfortunately, we couldn't land at Lukla as the airport was closed due to bad weather. We landed at the heliport in Sirte and waited. After about 45 minutes, our porter showed up with a new plan. We trekked from Sirte towards Fatli, bypassing Lukla. This added 3 hours to the hike and more elevation gain than planned. Well, it's okay. I made a friend along the way. We passed through many small communities and also saw muddy wall carvings along the way. The muddy walls are etched with prayers, turning the trail into a moving stream of blessings as you pass. We spent our first night in Phak Ding, where we had a good night's sleep, which was very important in preparation for the big trek to Namche Bazaar the very next day. The first of many suspension bridges we crossed. We arrived at Sagarmatha National Park for our very first checkpoint. Another bridge to cross. This is the famous Hillary Suspension Bridge, just before the steep climb to Namche Bazaar. It was a long day of hiking with many uphill and downhill sections, and so glad that we finally reached Namche Bazaar. The next morning, we hiked to the Tenzing Norgay Sherpa Heritage Center. It was at this location that we caught a first glimpse of Mount Everest. We spent the rest of the afternoon exploring Namche Bazaar before making our way to Hotel Everest View, where we would spend the night. After a very cold night, we woke up to snow and cloudy skies. The clouds cleared for a moment to allow for a quick glimpse of the mountains. Despite a heavier load and a later start, our porter always seems to get to the destination way ahead of us. As we made our way to Pangboche, there was a donkey caravan crossing one of the smaller bridges. The trail from here is mostly steady, winding along the valley with a mix of short climbs and open sections. It's a straightforward walk as we make our way deeper into the Himalaya. Leaving Pangboche felt like stepping deeper into the high Himalaya. The air gets drier, the landscape wider, and suddenly the trees disappear. It's all open valley and wind from here. As we got closer to Dingboche, the mountains started to feel bigger, almost looming. We also saw many yak caravans making their way to and back from Everest Base Camp. We left Dingboche in the morning and followed the valley toward Tukla. We stepped aside for many yak caravans moving through the valley with bells clanking as they passed. Walking through the Tukla memorials was a quiet moment in the trek. The trail rises onto a ridge covered with stone monuments dedicated to climbers and Sherpa who never made it home. After the memorials, the trail levels out into a long gradual valley before we arrive at Le Boucher. Le Boucher is just under 5,000 meters and the accommodations here are very basic, unheated rooms, thin walls, and simple facilities. From Le Boucher, it's a steady walk along a rocky valley to Gorak Shep, which is the last stop before the final push to Everest Base Camp. We stopped briefly at Gorak Shep to drop our bags, refuel, and then kept on going. It's only a 6-kilometer round trip from Gorak Shep to Everest Base Camp, but at this altitude, everything is harder. We made it to Everest Base Camp, the honest way, walking every single step. After overnighting in Gorak Shep, we began the long descent back to Lukla, averaging about 20 kilometers a day. By the time we reached Dengboche for lunch, the yaks were out grazing in the open field. We enjoyed looking at them while we had our lunch. We spent our final night in Lukla, letting the whole trek settle in. The next morning, it was a quiet walk to the airport. Lifting off from Lukla felt like closing the last page of the journey. After days on the trail and the long push to base camp, that tiny runway was the first moment to breathe and take in what we actually accomplished.